The agents are coming. The agents are coming. I may eventually run out of revolutionary hyperbole, but that day is not today. We are live, no cuts on this one. I wanted to talk about AI, and I wanted to talk about AI in the here and now as we enter the fall in Boston. A lot is changing, and I think we are like really on the edge of a watershed moment. What I'm seeing with like dozens of companies that I've obviously spoken to, and I think just spending basically 2 years trying to understand like where this is all going. So first of all, let's rewind. Early in my career, I spent time on Wall Street, and by that I mean I got coffee for people who worked on Wall Street, or rather, who worked on a trading desk in Boston connected to trading desks on Wall Street. Anyway, one thing that was really amazing about that experience is it blew me away at the age of 23 to understand how these bankers, analysts, industry people, people on CNBC would talk about these trends and how these companies or these people were matching these global trends. And I would always wonder, like, how do they figure that out? How are they able to sit back, identify a trend, and then match things to it? And now that I have a little gray hair coming in years later, I think I now understand it's really not like that. Actually, it's the people sort of doing the work. It's the companies that kind of come up and shape the world. They're finding the problems, they're serving the customers, and then people in marketing and storytellers put the trends together on top of that. And so that's a little bit what I'm doing now with the benefit of hindsight. So let's rewind. AI. 2 years ago, fall of 2022, OpenAI comes out with ChatGPT. You're all familiar with this. This was the first commercialization of large language models. So what are large language models? That's the thing that I think people get really hung up on. Here is my analogy. Large language models are bridges. They are bridges between the computer world and the real world, between programming languages and real language. And that is like a huge, huge unlock that I think we're still really trying to unlock. What I mean by that is there are like 25 million something programmers in the world, but there are like a billion people that speak English. HubSpot talked about this at their keynote last year. I'm really curious to see what their keynote says this year, that the next programming language is going to be English, which is a huge unlock about the number of people that could previously interact with computers and really build things to what we can do now. So if you use that bridges analogy, what is going to come next? Bridges are beautiful. I used to live in San Francisco, right near Marina Boulevard, would come out every morning and evening to look at the Golden Gate Bridge. Awesome bridge to look at. We've got the Zakim connecting Charlestown to Boston, another beautiful bridge. These are beautiful bridges. But what are bridges most useful for? Sending things over, right? Sending things back and forth. So the first version of that is prompts, prompt engineering, right? You type in, send me a picture of a cat into ChatGPT. It comes back with an image. You tell it to write a blog post for you. It comes back with a blog post. These are like the two-way radio versions of AI. And that's where we've been for like a year and a half until now. And this is, I think, what I'm starting to see and what we're all going to start to see, which is really impactful. And this is the rise of agents, which are the move between the two-way radio version to bicycles, cars, 18-wheelers, and something probably much larger and faster. Agents are, much more impactful, dynamic ways of communicating between the real world language and computer languages. And that is like huge. And I think that's what a lot of startups, particularly at the seed stage, and the startups that are really raising a lot of money that you're seeing are building. They're building these workflow dynamos that can cross over between the real world and the computer world. One funny thing I wanted to sort of tie off with this. So back in 2019, Mark Benioff was at, and Mark Benioff is the CEO of Salesforce, if you did not know. He was at the Dreamforce conference having an interview with Tim Cook, and he said, you know what, I don't actually use a computer anymore. I just, I use my phone, I go to meetings, etc. Like, that is a pretty awesome way to work and a way to live. In 2019, Mark Benioff had thousands of agents in the form of human Salesforce employees that would sort of do what he needed to do. We are headed toward that future, which is basically people becoming a lot more effective because they can use computers to sort of speak to use what is now being called unstructured data, which is human data, and transforming that into structured data, which is computer data that can be read by programming languages. Like, we're on the precipice of that. So as it stands in Boston today, one of the themes of the lantern that I want to bring you heading into this weekend and going forward is what is happening in the here and now. Agents. The agents are coming. They're really already here, and they're going to change pretty much everything. So here we go. Have a great Friday and weekend.